Hey, and welcome to another episode of So Do You Like Stuff? My name is Jeff Miller.
And I'm Josh Martinez.
So, it's been a couple weeks. We just been busy with a few things, and also we messed up on one of our recordings that we're going to be redoing tonight.
Redo. This is our redo.
This is a redo. So, if you have a problem with that, deal with it.
Well, we're going to be hopefully adding more, but condensing it to still make it in the same amount of time that we did it. So
exactly, because the overall basis of what we were talking about last time was it was just after the DC Fandome, and that was a couple weeks ago. So we decided, hey, Marvel brought out a few things, and so let's just take a whole big, huge scope of everything, of just how comic books in general are doing. And what do you think about comic books lately, Josh?
I think they're at a crossroads, because from my own research, or at least the stuff that I've been from some of the people that I've been watching on YouTube and some of the stuff that they're talking about, at least in comic book, that stuff, it seems like manga is really just blowing all of it out. Like manga and then independent creators are just blowing it out of the water.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It seems like they're doing really well. In terms of the movies, there's some good stuff that's coming out. I thought DC did a really good job. This was before their fandom event, but I thought they did a good job with the Suicide Squad movie.
Yeah,
I watched
agree
it on
with that.
HBO Max.
Yes.
It was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
Had some moments where I was just like, the Harley Quinn subplot, I get why it was in there, because they want to feature her a lot now. But
yeah,
it's
a bit weird.
It was off from the rest of the plot, but nevertheless, it was a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
So they finally I think had a hit, and it seems like the big thing that came out of fandom was their release of the Batman trailer.
That is true.
That seems to be the biggest highlight of the entire fandom. I would say, if I had to rank it, it probably would be Batman and then the Flash.
True.
I think the big thing about the Flash is going to be the return of Michael Keaton. That's the big kind of reason why most people are excited about that. Because there was a rumor where he wasn't involved, and then I think even he didn't know he was involved, and then it mostly had to do with the schedule, and then it turns out that he is involved, and that's kind of a big deal for a lot of people.
Oh, most definitely, because with Michael Keaton, he was the first on screen, but besides the serials back in 2006 or whatever, 1906, or 1950,
the 1940 series.
Yeah, the 1940 series.
I actually have those.
Yeah. Besides that, Michael Keaton was definitely the first time that people associate with Batman, especially in the whole film genre and everything like that. So yeah,
it was the first time that anybody took it seriously, because up to that point you had Adam West.
Yeah, which, I mean, love me some Adam West and everything. I think he's up there with the top of the Batman actors and everything like that. But yeah, it definitely was able to draw back just a little bit from the whole campiness and everything like that, and everything called Bat, the Bat
plane,
Bat phone,
Bat repellent.
No, Bat shark repellent. Sorry.
Bat shark repellent. Yeah. But yeah, that was kind of the big highlight, or that was I would say the second big highlight.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely going back to the Batman. Definitely going to be interesting to see what the direction is with this, because we talked about this earlier, where it's going to be possibly more of like a year one scenario, correct?
Yeah, and I mean it's the original plan of this movie. So this movie's been in limbo since I think 2017.
Yeah,
because originally it was planned to be Ben Affleck's Batman film.
Yeah,
he was slated to direct and write and star in it. Like he was basically going to do the whole thing. Balked at the writing and directing, wanted to star in it, and then handed it off to, I want to say it was Matt Reeves still.
Yeah.
He joined in, and then because of all the lukewarm receptions from Batman v Superman, the Joss Whedon version of Justice League, he decided to step away, and so then they decided to reboot this. And Matt Reeves decided to make it a year one storyline based off of the graphic novel,
with the same name.
I believe is I believe is a Frank Miller one, right? I'm drawing a blank on it, but I'm like 99.9% sure it's a Frank Miller.
Yeah,
Batman Year One is Frank Miller.
Maybe. Let's see. Frank Miller.
Frank Miller. So it's loosely based off of that. I'm excited that they're making another Batman movie. I don't think Pattinson wasn't like my first pick.
I don't think it was anybody's first pick. Nobody thinks Twilight Boy would be Batman.
But to be fair, like he's turned himself into it. Supposedly, like he's done a lot of independent films. He's turned himself into a really great actor. Yeah,
but he's still sparkled.
He still has that stigma.
Yeah.
But I think like he upset like a lot of fans at one point because he said during the pandemic that like he didn't bother staying in shape for the role.
Yeah.
And then I think he got COVID, and there's a lot of production issues, but the trailer itself looks good. Some people have pointed to that it's a very emotional, unhinged Batman. In the trailer, he goes a little like, I think in one of the fight scenes he just goes completely like crazy and starts just beating the living snot out of the guy, which some people are pointing out that it's like Batman has control over his emotions, and so when he's not just like beating somebody to the point where they have brain damage or anything like that. There's like even one shot I think somebody pointed out too where it was there's two fight scenes where he like gets shot. It's like one of them is fine where he just gets shot close range and he kind of like twists his shoulder back. The other one is a little bit more pushing the limits of believability, where he just like he's in the middle of a fight and he just like walks into like a line of like straight bullets.
I think that this is the first one.
Shot.
He
gets shot,
but then it doesn't faze him. And then the other part I think is it's after. I think it's before that. Yeah. Yep, right there. He's just walking and getting lit up.
Yeah, that's a little pushing it. Like even going back to even Keaton, like Keaton got shot and he fell down.
Yeah, exactly.
And he had a body armor on, and so it's
like
pushing the limits a little too. Like if they're gonna make it grounded, they're pushing it a little too much. But I mean, overall, like those are really the most.
Like the only person that I could think of that could withstand all that, or a Batman that could withstand all that was Batfleck, because he had the super suit.
Which was weird because if you watch Batman v Superman in the warehouse scene, there is a point where like somebody uses a knife on his cowl and on his gauntlet, it doesn't cut, but then in the middle of the fight he gets knocked down and his suit gets stabbed. So it's like the suit is not strong enough to withstand a knife, but his gauntlets and his cowl are. It is just weird.
He must be borrowing the Twilight powers. You can't shoot me! I'm too sparkly!
Yeah. But I hear a rumor that's supposed to be is that the bat symbol is supposed to be his like the gun that killed his parents. Like he somehow gets a hold of it, and like molds it into the bat symbol.
Which that's very morbid.
It's different. Yeah,
I'm wearing the thing that killed my parents.
Well, and overall, like his suit, like the only criticism I have with the suit is just the open mouthpiece.
Yeah,
it's a little bit larger than normal.
Yeah, it's definitely has that, it's almost like Joker-esque.
Yeah, it kind of.
What if they're preluding to The Man Who Laughs?
Or what was that Nightmare? What was it, Nightmare Joker? Where he.
Yeah.
It was in the comics. I remember seeing stills of it. It looked really bad. But yeah, overall, I think the two highlights out of DC, the DC fandom, were, Batman, the Batman trailer, the Flash trailer.
Yeah.
I think most people were just it felt very lackluster because most people didn't get. I mean, to be fair with the Flash thing, you get like a teaser.
Yeah. It was one heck of a teaser. They showed the back of the head of Keaton's cowl, and then tried to unveil the '88 Batman Batmobile, and they cut it right before that. So yeah, that's one heck of a teaser.
Yeah, and they really didn't even give much of a plot, so nobody really knows. I mean, as far as I know, we don't know who the villain is. Some people are speculating that the Barry on the far left,
that Barry,
that's actually Reverse Flash.
Yeah.
There's some rumor of that.
Eobard.
Yeah, and but then the other things that were supposed to be promoted were, you had we were supposed to be getting a Black Adam and Shazam. I think there were supposed to be a teaser or trailers for those, and all we got was basically a behind the scenes.
Well, the behind the scenes was Shazam and Aquaman.
Yeah.
Those were the two
too.
those were the behind the scenes one. But then the Black Adam one, they started off fandom with that, and basically that was the big thing, is The Rock was kind of just hyping it up so much, you gotta watch the show, you're gonna see some awesome Black Adam stuff. And literally it was the first 5 minutes of the, not even 5 minutes of the movie, or 5 minutes of the beginning of the movie, but it was 5 minutes of the movie where a bunch of soldiers come in, and the whole lightning comes down, and they and then he's in the superhero position, knees down, one knee down, one arm down, kind of a thing. And you don't really see a good deal of him. He just does that and turns his head, and it's he's in full costume, but that was it. They were overhyping it way too much. And
I think they put I think the only thing we got was a still of him behind a marker camera in the costume, right?
Yeah.
That was it. We didn't really get an actual trailer of him just full on Black Adam.
Yeah, exactly. It's just
yeah,
that was it.
It was just a head tilt. And that was, and I felt that was kind of the big. I mean, that's where some of the things that were were promoted and kind of talked about. And I mean, at least the Batman and the really delivered. The Flash, I would say, three quarters delivered, and then
look right here. The trailer for itself is 1:17.
Yeah, and it really doesn't give much of the plot.
No, it doesn't do anything. And that was like the big, huge thing about that show. Like, if we look at all of DC Fandome and everything like that, they didn't deliver much of anything except for the Batman. And that was the last thing. Like all of their shows, like Aquaman, they didn't show anything but besides like Jason Momoa just being there and being like, "Hi, I'm Jason Momoa. And here's some cool, gnarly...
Here's some behind-the-scenes footage.
Behind-the-scenes footage, and I have my shirt off most of the time, so ladies, enjoy." But no, like that, and they like overly developed on, like, I know they did a big, huge piece on Peacemaker, which that was there wasn't like a really official trailer with that. That was more behind-the-scenes stuff too.
Yeah, and he was good in Suicide Squad, but I don't think it was like good where it warranted his own show.
I think they just, the way that this, how everything was made with Suicide Squad, it was surprising that there was going to be a spin-off show, but DC needs something. DC needs some kind of show that is going to appeal to the masses, because right now they don't really have anything. Like, they originally had like all the CW stuff, but that went super woke. The issue with the CW shows has just been that it's the CW. Their biggest show, Arrow, went off the air. Yeah,
there was like some whole deal about the new season of The Flash, but all it was just that he's getting new boots.
Yeah, he's getting the gold boots. He's like, Barry Allen's getting the new gold boots. Hooray! But
how about just do the costume from the get-go and not like constantly that's at least something that you saw a progression at least in like the Nolan trilogy with the Batman costume, because the reason is he wanted to just move his head.
Yeah.
So he just got a new suit. But it just seems like every season they were redesigning the Flash suit. Same thing with Arrow, or at least Arrow in some ways kept like maybe a season or two of the same suit. But then it was like for the Flash, it was like every season is a different costume.
Yeah.
It was like we're getting closer to what the comic looks, and then this year was like just the boots.
Yeah, exactly. And then I don't know, it's just the overall show was just my opinions on it were just there was nothing exciting about it. Like, even like the game trailers and stuff like that for
looked good. The game trailers looked awesome.
They looked good, but there was no gameplay. It was just like, oh, here's cool cinematic trailers. We're not going to show you what the actual game looks like, but here's Harley Quinn going around, shooting people. Okay.
Again, they're milking her character.
Oh yeah, very much so. And
she's got her own cartoon show.
Yeah, which is terrible.
She was kind of like one of the bigger selling points for the Suicide Squad movie, and I'm assuming she's one of the big selling points for the Suicide Squad game.
And then she had her own movie, with the Birds of Prey. There was that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I completely forgot.
Yeah, there was that, but it's just so weird because the thing is that I don't understand what DC's logic is with Harley Quinn, because the only reason why she got popular was because of the Batman Arkham games. She started her overall costume and everything like that was more seductive and everything like that, and all the guys were playing the Arkham games. Well, besides being a very excellent game, the other reason was because Harley Quinn looked really good in it, and the females in their lives started playing it, and they're like, oh, this girl's cute, and then they started cosplaying it, and then it started just becoming this big huge thing where Harley Quinn is now the poster child for DC, which Harley Quinn is the poster child of an abusive relationship. She always
I
has
just,
that.
Well, I don't remember back in, like, even when, like, when the Justice League show, like, back in the early 2000s, like, all that stuff was on. Even when she appeared in that, or even in the new Batman Adventures, or going back to the animated series, I don't remember her being, like, that popular.
No.
Her popularity is, I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe it is around the Arkham. Arkham games is when it kind of exploded.
Yeah, you see very much the popularity upswing with there, because that's when they started, like, really changing her, because she started getting popular, and she's like, oh crap, she can't be, this, just this, because she was in a very abusive relationship, very much so. Joker treated her like crap. And she just kept on like, oh, Mr. J, Mr. J, Mr. J. And you see the evolution of her and everything like that. And it's just like, and she becomes more of like an independent woman and stuff like that. But the thing is that whenever Joker comes around, she's just like, no, she's like, she doesn't say no to him. She still goes back into that abusive relationship, which, I mean, why? My thinking is like, why would you want that as your, the thing that women are fixating to? It's like, yes, she is a, strong, independent woman, whatever thing, but she has her hiccup. But you have Wonder Woman.
You have Wonder Woman. You have Black Canary. You have
Hawk Girl.
Yeah,
you have because in the Green Lantern Corps they have female in there and stuff like that. It's just, it boggles my mind that out of all these characters, like, Harley Quinn is like now the most popular. And
well, you also have you also have Catwoman too. She's more of like the anti-hero.
Yeah,
where she has her moments of being bad and then she's good, and all that stuff.
But the thing is that Harley Quinn is supposed to be always bad, because that's why she's in the Suicide Squad, is because she's done enough bad that they're like, well, beats being in a jail cell kind of a thing. Right.
So yeah, I mean, they've really been pushing her in the games and in the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I had completely forgotten about the Birds of Prey movie.
Yeah, comics, everything, and I know that in some of the comic books, and then her new animated show, she's gone totally like on the other side, because she's totally rejected Mr. J. So now she's a lesbian with Poison Ivy.
Which, I mean, that's fine. I mean, they kind of that friendship kind of started back in the animated series.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's where Harley Quinn lived. Like,
yeah, there's no whole episode.
There's no
comic. A whole episode.
Yeah, there's no comic book. Like, she didn't start in comic books. She started at the animated series. They needed somebody that was going to help out the Joker, and they created her. And then she got, a little bit of a following, so they started making a comic book.
Yeah, and they had that whole episode. I think it's called Harley and the Ivy, where she leaves Joker and then goes off with Poison Ivy, and they basically kind of do this Thelma and Louise bit. They don't go off a cliff, but nevertheless, that was kind of the start of that whole, like, and that's a pair that you could do that with. And like introducing her into the comics, like that's a character. Those are two characters that you can do that with.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, Harley was not she was also in that, whole relationship too. Ivy was the one that was in control. Ivy told her what to do. Like, she wasn't abusive or anything like that, but again, she was the one that's like, we're gonna do this, and Harley's just like, okay, I'm just gonna follow you. Yeah. So, but yeah, getting back to the game stuff, but yeah, there was no gameplay, which I want to say when they first announced the Gotham Knights game, not at this, but like at a prior thing, I think a year ago, they had gameplay footage with it. They maybe,
because I remember they had like a whole gameplay footage thing with Batgirl.
Yeah,
like
there is a gameplay walkthrough. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Batgirl, and then I think Robin too, where you could like tag team and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah, that's good and all, but
the thing that was a year ago, people wanted like something new.
They definitely wanted more something from the Suicide Squad game, because when they announced it over at E3, they just did it with a cinematic trailer, and now they came back with another cinematic trailer, and nothing pisses gamers more than not seeing gameplay. Yeah, it looks cool and stuff like that, but if you don't see it actually running in real time and in game, it's just like
how the mechanics are gonna work.
Well, just that and how visually it looks and stuff like that. You can make a cinematic trailer look as best as possible. But if it looks like garbage, why play it? Well, I mean, it might be still a very good game, but the first thing that gamers will always see is like how the visuals actually look. Like when freaking the new Halo, they did the gameplay trailer through the Xbox conference, and people were dogging on it, and I was even dogging on it because it looked like crap. It looked like it was running on like Windows XP. No, it just looked bad, and it wasn't even running on the actual Xbox hardware. It was running through a computer, and it just.
Are you talking about for Halo Infinite?
Yeah. It looked just terrible, and that's actually why they postponed the game for another year, because it was supposed to be part of the console launch, and they waited another year to get everything polished up. Now it looks like it's a decent game, but yeah, that's the number one thing, is like if you don't get the visuals there, or if it doesn't fit with the context of the game of what you're developing, because I mean there's plenty of 8-bit games that are still coming out, and the graphics are not the greatest, but you do it with gameplay and stuff like that, right? And because that's the overwhelming arc of what the game is. But if you're coming out saying, oh man, the graphics are going to be so good and stuff like that, and you come out with that, you're done. Nobody's buying that ish.
Well, and like I said, with you had a year.
Yeah.
As I mentioned before, like with the Gotham Knights game, you had a year, and then with the Suicide Squad, it's like you got. Like it's like I saw the trailer. It's good. Like there's jokes and stuff like that, and I think it looks like it's taking place in the Arkhamverse.
Yeah.
And all that stuff, but at the same time, like you kind of want to see something where I know what to expect when I put it in my gaming system.
Yeah, exactly.
And so it like at least with Gotham Knights, they had that kind of gameplay trailer, that gameplay walkthrough last year, but we wanted to see more, how much has been worked on it, and see, like, because I think it looks like you're going to be playing as both Batgirl, Robin, Red Hood, and Nightwing.
Yeah.
And so it'd just be like, you want to see like what they look, how they function, because if anything the Arkham series taught us was that they make the characters function differently. Batgirl functions differently than Nightwing. Robin has a whole different fighting mechanic style to all of them, to Batman. So there was just a lot left to be desired.
Yeah, it's basically kind of remind me of like a better attempt of the Marvel Avengers game, because that game was absolute garbage, because you would be able to play as like the different characters and they played differently, but nobody liked the Marvel Avengers game. Actually, it came out.
Speaking of which, see what they're doing now.
Well, it came out. It came out this week that the head of Square Enix even says that game is garbage. Absolute garbage.
He blames. Is it the developer company?
Crystal Dynamics
or whatever. Because I saw the video for that, in prepping for this from a different YouTube channel, and it's like, yeah, the guy from the people who develop the game are just basically throwing there's like sub company under the bus.
Yeah, exactly.
Just saying, yeah, the game sucks, nobody wants to play it.
Which, I mean, it's kind of funny because Crystal Dynamics made the Tomb Raider games, which, I mean, the first one was really good, the second one was good, and then the third one was kind of
the rebooted one.
Yeah, the reboot.
Okay.
Yeah, so I mean,
discount Uncharted.
Yeah, but I mean, it was good. It was good.
No, I played some of the first one. It's good, but it felt like discount Uncharted.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I would say DC Fandome was a definite like miss with what they were hyping it up to be. Glad that they did not charge anything for this, because a lot of people would be asking for refunds, because there was nothing in that show besides like the Batman trailer that anybody wanted to stay there for.
Yeah.
And they were like, in all the hype that they were doing, they were just like, oh, this person's gonna be there, this person's gonna be there, this person's gonna be there, you get to talk to this, and nothing. It was just like a big 4-hour fart.
Yeah. Well, really would have gotten people, which I'm wondering if they're going to do this in the Flash movie, and I wonder if they're going to, like, this is going to be their backdoor way to erase it. But if they wanted to, they could have easily have come out and just said, hey, we're gonna reinstitute the Snyderverse. All those characters are coming back. Like, I think after the Justice League Zack Snyder cut, that probably would have won a lot of people over, but I think they're going to use the Flash as like a backdoor way to just kind of wipe that from existence.
Oh yeah, they very much.
It might be their backdoor way of writing
Affleck.
Well, I was not only Affleck, but also Henry Cavill.
Yeah, because they even said that that the big to do about it is that they're going to be killing off the Affleck Batman in the Flash.
Yeah. I heard about that.
Yeah,
it's.
But we'll see. I mean,
and he was the most comic accurate out of all the Batmans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In terms of live action Batman, like, he is probably the most comic accurate in terms of just panel for panel what you think of Batman doing. But yeah, and then this week we had a couple good. I don't know, how do you feel about the trailer dropped for Morbius? Are we gonna move to Marvel now?
Yeah, we can because I mean that we talked about what DC's doing, and then like towards the end we'll collect our thoughts, kind of a thing. Yeah. But yeah, the new Morbius movie with
Jared Leto.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say Jared Leto, but I was gonna say the person that was over at DC, now over at Marvel.
Which he doesn't age. That's the thing. He's like in his mid-40s, I think.
Well, yeah, it's all the emo rock that he did with his brother. I'm not okay. Wrong.
But yeah. The trailer dropped this week, and I'm not familiar with Morbius as a character. I know of him. He was on the Spider-Man animated show back in the 90s. He was. I want to say he was in Maximum Carnage.
Yeah, I believe.
The video game.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, Morbius. It follows Dr. Morbius, which he has a rare incurable disease or something like that. This is how the movie is going. So he has a rare incurable disease, so he's trying to figure out a way to cure it, but it's also trying to cure other people too that have it. And one of his patients is this little girl, and he's trying to do everything possible to do it. But like he found out a trace, like if he went I think he went to like the South America to like the largest bat colony or something, and like let them like run over him or something like that, and with like the mixture of his blood that turned him into a vampire, pretty much, or man-bat.
So he kind of did what happened to Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns.
Yeah.
She falls out the window, a bunch of cats just kind of nibble and lick her face, and
then she became sexy.
She became Catwoman.
Yeah, she became sexy. But the trailer looks good. I'm actually excited for this because like Sony's doing it. They're the main company doing it. Yeah. Okay. Because I didn't see the last Venom movie. I really want to see the last Venom movie, but the first Venom movie was fantastic. Even though it got crapped on, like from diehard Venom fans and then also by critics. But I mean, it was enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was definitely, because it came out during the summer. It's definitely one of those summer romp, like, you know, kind of like Transformers, like kind of a thing where it was just a good time, and the story was, you know, you didn't have to be very mindful of everything or have to be somewhat of an expert of Venom and everything like that. It was a good time, and it looks like this very much it's in the same realm. At the end of this trailer, he does say, I'm Venom, and then he's like, oh, just kidding, I'm just Dr. Morbius, how can I help you?
I was wondering, like, something, because that part like got kind of muffled, and then I hit the closed captions, and he does say I'm Venom.
Yeah, it's let me turn it up.
I am Venom. I'm just kidding. It's Dr. Michael Morbius at your service.
Yeah. Like I said, like I'm not too familiar with the Morbius character. I want to say, like, in the show, the animated Spider-Man show, to avoid having him have to bite people, he like had like suction, like he would drain their plasma. That's like how he did it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I
think they changed it.
Yeah, he's definitely supposed to be more vampire-ish.
Yeah.
In this,
but I think this will. I'm curious again too, because they're doing, with this movie. The question has always been now, like with this movie with Venom. They're kind of hinting at this one that him and Venom are in the same world.
Yeah.
And then that this, and then I've heard that like the second Venom movie, the post-credit scene is them hearing about Spider-Man.
Gotcha.
And the thing is that Spider-Man, I think it's the next one's called Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Is that they're opening up the multiverse. It's going to be them, because like in the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer, you got Doc Ock showing up from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Yeah.
There's kind of a hint that William Dafoe is coming back as the Green Goblin.
Yeah, I did see. Yeah.
And then I think also Jamie Foxx from
the Spectacular or Amazing.
I think it's the Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah,
he's gonna be in it, and there's all these different people from all these different movies coming to be in it. I'm wondering if this is going to be another kind of backdoor way to kind of like make this one universe.
True.
So that way then it's like Morbius, Venom, Carnage, all these, and Spider-Man, they're all finally like in their own universe. But the thing is like Sony's not going to let, like with the hits that they've been having, like they've had hits with Venom.
Yeah. The
second Venom movie, if they have a hit with this, like they're not going to then let those characters go. So Spider-Man, and they're at this point now, they're not going to let Spider-Man go.
No. Because even with because they're making a correlation with Raimi's Spider-Man and Morbius, because there's
There's a poster.
There's a poster of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man in there, and like with graffiti on it and stuff like that. So it might be a possibility. I mean, Venom was in the Raimi universe. Too bad it was a crappy Venom.
Which is funny because they shoehorned him in.
Mm-hmm.
They originally, Raimi didn't want Venom in there. He didn't care for the character, and I think it was the producer told him, like, do you know who fans really like? Do you know who fans really want to see?
Yeah,
they want to see Venom.
Exactly.
Throw Venom in there, and he's like, I don't like. That's not the story I want to tell. So they ended up throwing him in there.
It was that, and then they also wanted it to be the last Spider-Man, because they didn't want to continue with the with all the courses of going on, because I think there might have been starting to get talks from Disney or Marvel at the time, and then to Disney.
Right. Well, so originally the third movie was supposed to be just Sandman and Harry Osborn, if you want to include him, and it was supposed to be just kind of like Peter just coming down to earth and kind of coming off the high that he was off of everybody loving him in the show.
Mm-hmm.
But then in the fourth movie was supposed to be in that. I think there's like even just like concept art where he's supposed to be battling the Vulture.
Yeah.
And there was like a rumor that John Malkovich was attached to. I think the concept art is supposed to be him in the Vulture gear. And so, I mean, and I think Tobey Maguire was signed on to do it, but then I think everybody else was, but because of the lukewarm reception that was Spider-Man 3.
Because I mean, even if you watch the movie, like, you can just feel that like Venom was just thrown in there, and like, because you had just the few little things in the beginning or in the middle with Peter having the Venom suit and everything, and then from there it just didn't flow. It was just like very much like, okay, we had these two things, go Venom, I choose you.
Yeah, and it just felt like it was, and then obviously, like, and it's no knock on the actor that played Eddie Brock, but he was just not.
What's his face from that '70s show?
From that '70s show, he was just. He just looks like a product, in the movie he looks like a product of the mid 2000s.
Yeah, very much so. And it just didn't fit right, because like Eddie has always been bigger. Always been a bigger.
I mean, Tom Hardy he's a pretty bulky dude. He bulked up for Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting back to this trailer, like I think it looks good. I've watched it like twice now.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see, because he's kind of Morbius. I always got the feeling Morbius was an anti-hero.
He is an anti-hero.
So
they actually, with the trailer, they do make it out to be he's an anti-hero.
Yeah. So it'll kind of be like a Venom thing, where it's like he'll play the villain card when he wants to, and then he'll play the hero card when he needs to.
Well, I think he can't control it, because he still has that vampire essence to him, and that's what makes him a villain, is because he has to feed.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the whole big thing about this, is that like the times that he has to go feed, that it's just like he's a villain and stuff like that, but then he's actually a doctor and he's trying to help people.
Yeah, it's funny that like vampires now are starting to become a thing again.
Yeah,
because there's like a bunch of foreign films on Netflix that are vampires.
It's on a cycle.
Yeah.
With monsters, it's always a cycle. Because Walking Dead is over, so the zombie craze is going down. So you have to supplement it with another monster, so it has to be, vampire. Where's my Frankenstein's monster? I want that.
Where's
the mummies?
Well, they tried that with Tom Cruise, remember?
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
They tried to do like a monster verse. It was like
Yeah.
the Mummy, and then the Russell Crowe was Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah.
They tried to do a whole bunch of stuff with that.
And then
I still blame Van Helsing with Hugh Jackman as like screwing over the monster verse.
True. But then what's it? You did have a Frankenstein's monster, didn't? Harry Potter, didn't he have one? I'm pretty sure he did.
No, Netflix did a show called The Frankenstein Chronicles where it kind of played the same thing, but it was Frankenstein didn't exist, but it was people dabbling with those type of things where they're bringing people back from the dead.
Okay.
And so, yeah, but yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. It'll be interesting to see. I think it comes out in January.
Yeah, January.
I think. I don't know when, but January.
Yeah,
in January.
Yeah, it just said January.
But then, what? So you got the Morbius trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Spider-Man: No Way Home came out a bit. You've got Doctor Strange, and is it Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? Is that the name of it?
I think so. Give me a second.
Because I want to say
it's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay, which that one I'm actually looking forward to just because it's Sam Raimi. He's the one directing.
Yeah,
and so I kind of like his shtick of horror.
Yeah,
the way that he does it.
Most definitely.
And then the one thing that I've been hearing about is the Eternals. They've been knocking it. It's been getting, I think it's lower now. Somebody posted recently it's lower now. It's at like 50% Rotten.
No, it's 43.
Is it?
Yes. Let me double check. Eternals, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see. Oh, 49. It was 49%. Down to. It was down to 43. But it went up apparently. But 49%. Audience score is 86%.
That's not what I'm hearing.
Yeah, Eternal. It's hard. It's hard with Eternals just because of my big issue always with trying for the actors and actresses trying to describe their movie or give they what they're truly focusing on. Like the big hullabaloo with the Eternals is that the two of the male characters are gay with each other that have a kid, and I mean, but whatever your belief is on that and stuff like that, that's up to you guys. I mean, if that's something that you want to teach your kids, kind of a thing, go ahead. I have no problem with that, because like with me, my biggest issue is with this is that they are focusing too much on the homosexual relationship than the actual movie. And they did this with Wonder Woman too, the second movie, because before like it was released out into the public, we could already tell that was going to be a bad movie because the director of it came out and said, "Oh, I couldn't realize my whole vision for Wonder Woman 2. Like the higher ups were not letting me be the creative soul that I wanted to be," kind of a thing. So you already can tell that it's gonna suck. And then if you if you watched like the variety interviews for the Eternals and everything like that, all they're asking, they don't ask how the movie is. They don't review the actual movie itself. They are literally like saying, oh, you know, how inspiring it is that, you know, two homosexual interracial men can be represented in a movie and have a baby with it in it as well. And when you focus too much on that, you can already tell that this movie is going to be garbage. Like if that's your main focus of this film, that's what you're celebrating, and you're telling me, oh, we're going to put all our eggs into this basket, this woke basket, and hopefully that fans will enjoy it. And like the backlash that the actors have been doing against the people that have been reviewing this movie, they're like, oh, you know, you got oh, what's his face? I always forget his name.
He's a comedian.
Yeah. What is it? Is it Kumail Nanjiani? No, I forget. But he was like, he tweeted out like, oh, you know, I guess we were doing this movie for the wrong people and all this stuff, and like a lot of them were just, you know, just trashing on people, on the actual fans that were like, we don't really care about this. Like, we just want to go get entertained. We want to go see a great movie experience. And that's what they're not giving with this film. Like, everybody that's reviewed this movie says it's just, it's not that great of a movie. It's strictly trying to push this, you know, this agenda, that the liberal agenda again, which everybody's pushing out. DC's pushing it out. Marvel's pushing it out. Anything that's coming from Hollywood now, unless it's associated with somebody that's conservative, that's what they're pushing. They're pushing it out. Even it might not be widespread or like this big huge thing like the Eternals, but they're putting it in, you know, the background and everything like that. So like that's the whole big thing with the Eternals, because they're just trying to push this agenda, and they're able to do it with this film because not many people know about the Eternals. It was kind of this new thing that they were going to be putting out there about these, you know, this class of pretty much gods, being able to basically asking the question, where were you during the whole Thanos thing? And I think that's only like quarter of the movie.
Yeah, and unfortunately, like, they don't, the benefit that Captain Marvel had was it was sandwiched between Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and then Infinity War and then Avengers Endgame.
Yeah.
So I was able to, because the reception I've heard of that movie is that it's very, it was meh.
Yeah.
The lead wasn't that captivating.
Yeah, and they keep changing her too.
Yeah, and so but that movie benefited because it made a ton of money.
Yeah.
Despite its reviews and people's reviews of it, it made a lot of money because it was sandwiched between. It was kind of pushed as like gonna fill in the gaps between. It was gonna fill some gap between Avengers and Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
But then it didn't. It was really the post-credit scene where she shows up and says, "Where's Nick Fury?"
Yeah.
It was after the snap. Like, that was pretty much it. Because then in the Avengers Endgame, they don't use her at all. Like,
no, she's like off at a different distant planet or something.
Yeah, I think for like a total of like 10 minutes of the movie, 15 minutes of the movie she's in, and that's it.
Yeah, and it's towards the end.
Yeah, beginning and end. That's it.
Yeah.
So that movie benefited from that. This movie and Shang-Chi, unfortunately, don't benefit from that because
even Black Widow didn't even benefit.
Didn't Black Widow didn't do well? I mean, Black Widow should have come out in like 2015.
Yeah.
It should have come out way before.
Yeah.
Why they kept pushing it back, I don't know why. But like this movie and Shang-Chi, they don't have, they just kind of feel like fillers.
Yeah.
Where, because I think the big bad coming up next, I think, is supposed to be Galactus.
Yeah,
I
heard
that's the
that
rumor that I've heard.
but they don't know. I think this whole between, like, this whole after thing, like, again, it's like filler episodes. It's like it kind of feels like an anime somewhat, because it's like you have, you know, 2 seasons of really good stuff, and then you have like these filler episodes that have like no connection or anything like that, and they're trying to still point back to, you know, what made them popular with the whole, with the snap and a whole end game and everything like that. But there's no direction. There's no it's just like, oh, here's a few things to keep you entertained until we figure out what the heck we're doing.
and I think they need to take a page out of DC, because at least I'll give DC credit. They'll just recast, like, how they've recast Batman multiple times.
Yeah.
I mean, just recast Iron Man. Just recast, like, if Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to do it, don't let him do it.
Yeah. Or
just recast him. And if if Chris Evans doesn't want to do Captain America, just recast him. You know,
make them all female. Like the comics.
They did that in the What If series. But just like, it's kind of like the James Bond thing. Like, just if the actor's tired and doesn't want to do it, just recast him. Yeah. Nobody. Yeah, everybody does the ranking of like who's the best Bond, who's the best Batman, who's the best Superman. We do that, and it keeps fans interested in the genre. Mm-hmm. But that's just what happens. I mean, everybody's kind of tiptoeing around the idea of when they bring in the X-Men, like, who are they going to recast as Wolverine?
Exactly,
because Hugh Jackman did him for
so many years, and he's done.
20 years, like almost 20 years.
Shoot, freaking
Logan came out in 2019. Yeah. So he almost did it 20 years. So it's just like, he had a great run. He worked out his butt to stay in shape for that role, but eventually, like, you recast the role, and that's just how it works. And if instead of digging, like, you could introduce the Eternals, you can do all this stuff, you can introduce the Fantastic Four now that Marvel has them.
I think they are, aren't they?
Yeah. You can do all that stuff, but that doesn't mean that you sacrifice not bringing those other characters back, and you don't need to have Falcon become Captain America.
Exactly.
You just recast Steve Rogers, and that's just it.
Yeah, and everybody's itching for X-Men, because like it's just so weird, because the way even Marvel treats kind of X-Men as like its own little entity. Like, in the grand schemes of like the whole Marvel universe and stuff like, and everything, it always segregated X-Men in its own little corner.
Well, and they're like a big,
except for like Wolverine.
Yeah, with the exception of Wolverine, but like everybody else, they kind of just shove off to the side. Yeah. And I don't know. That's just, I think they just need to be like, just that, and then also they kind of sit there, and it's just like, if you question any of the stuff that they're doing, you know, then there's something wrong with you, and you just need to be a good little consumer and just consume it. But it's, if you're peddling a message that the fans aren't going for, and
that's the overall feeling that I have towards, especially like the Marvel and DC universe, because like they're trying to push these agendas or push these different things, and the only reason why they're pushing it is because, well, A, they're being told to, but B, is that no matter what they put out, they're gonna be selling, you know, tickets and whatnot and everything like that. And if you don't full-heartedly agree, if it's like the the woke stuff, or even like you don't agree with the way that things are heading into a direction or anything like that, turn it off. like because myself and Josh are more, you know, conservative and everything, and like when we don't want to watch something or anything like that, or, you know, if something doesn't align with us, we just don't watch it. We don't feel forced like we have to watch this. It's like, no, I can live my life another day. And like, that's always been the conservative thing towards, you know, people that like, if you don't like it, just change the channel, or if you don't like this certain thing, just change the channel.
Well, that's just been, I mean, that's, you know, the reason why I stopped watching a lot of the CW shows, the only show I stuck with was Arrow.
Yeah.
Like, I watched it from beginning to end, because it was at some point when I knew that they were going to end it, I was just like, all right, like, I'm just going to stick this out and just, you know, watch it from beginning to end. Yeah. But, you know, with all good shows, and even with movie series that have this continual thread, such as Marvel, eventually you're gonna run out of ideas. Like if a good idea, a proof of this would be was the show Supernatural. Mm-hmm. The creator of the show, he said that he had a plan for 5 seasons in his head. He had mapped out 5 seasons.
Yeah.
That was going to tell the story that he wanted to tell, and then it would be done.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got to 5 seasons, he told the story that he needed to tell. It ended the way it ended. You could have ended the series there. Instead, they continued to go on for another 10 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad. I've watched some of the later seasons. They're not bad, but you can definitely tell that they had to think of something else to make this existential threat. So with Marvel, you had this whole Infinity Saga building up to Thanos, mapped out for 12 years, 11 years, which is a feat. It's an amazing narrative feat to do.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, like, once you tell that story, if you don't have anything planned afterwards, you're gonna have several duds, and it's gonna look like you don't have any good stories to tell. So the same thing like with the CW shows, the reason why I stopped watching is because the stories stopped being interesting.
Exactly.
And there was nothing to give.
Yeah.
And so none of the having, a gay character or any of that stuff bothers me. But like you said earlier in the pod, if that's your only pitch for selling me this thing, this show or this movie
or comic book, because you have Superman now.
Yeah, like that's not going to win you a lot of people over.
No,
because ultimately what you want to see is humans are very story oriented, and we want to tell stories. But if your only pitch is this person is of a certain ilk, that's not going to win you a lot of people over.
Yeah, and I mean it's been kind of showing too, because especially with like that Superman comic, with Superman's son being bisexual and stuff like that, like their sales tanked 50%. With the Eternals, I mean, it's actually the worst reviewed Marvel film ever. And that's beaten out Thor 2. We're starting to get into this thing where, especially with money, because money is tight right now for everybody. people are going to pick and choose what they're going to be wanting to watch. And that's what I advise our listeners to do, or people who are watching us on YouTube. You don't have to be, fully invested into something that, is taking a turn. Because a lot of people that are going to probably go see this Eternal movie is because it's like, well, I've already been through this whole narrative. It's supposed to be a continuation because they're talking about, why weren't they a part of the snap kind of a thing, and let's just watch it. And, if you don't agree with it, if you don't agree with even the storytelling or anything like that, don't watch it. It's just because that's the only thing that these executives and these executives that are making these decisions to, do these movies and, greenlight stuff is because they're worried about is money. Money and numbers. Business is all about numbers. I come from an IT world, and most of the IT world is run by businessmen, and we are in IT world, we don't have tangible numbers. We just have like, okay, this is how many devices we have. But whenever a business person comes in, they change everything for the worse, because they're like, well, we need to get a ticketing system, and we have to, per issue that comes up, how many minutes did it take to respond? How many minutes take to actually do this? And all this other stuff, all these numbers that in the IT world does not make sense, because it's just like, let me do my job. And that's what these executives need. They need numbers. If there's not numbers there, guess what? Things are probably going to change, because they're saying, oh crap, we're not making money off of just getting pitched by this little thing. We have to actually create stuff. And I find it funny, because at the beginning you were talking about how within like comic book world and stuff like that, that is being destroyed by manga and everything like that. And we were talking about this earlier, a couple months ago, with that what was it, that Beauty and the Beast anime that's going to be coming out to the West, where it's like where Belle is more of like an independent woman, or it's very, pro-woman and everything like that, and everybody's like, oh, this is great and everything like that. I hope, Japan's going to do more of this stuff. And like they were
I think I heard about this.
Yeah, and then
was it us that talked about it? Or?
Yeah, we talked about it, and it was like this big huge thing, and they're like, oh, finally the, our Western influences are gonna go and, change the stuff and everything like that. It's like, listen, you're not gonna change anything of Japan, because we're here in America, they're over there in Japan. Japan does things for Japan, not for the United States.
Well, did you? So let's boomerang it back to the Eternals. It's getting pulled from certain
countries.
Markets.
Yeah, it's getting pulled out of certain countries
because they don't. And it's funny because like Disney was banking on China.
Yeah,
and China doesn't want to show it because it has. I think one of the reasons why it has two gay characters. Yeah. Some of the Middle Eastern companies or movie countries are not showing it because of that. So because us as the United States, in America, we're just so focused on us because we are very large compared to the, rest of the world kind of a thing. But we're just so focused on us, and that we're it's just a blessing that we're able to influence all these other places and then show them our representation of movies and stuff like that. And they don't and when there's a backlash against it, they're like, whoa, why not? Why aren't they accepting our blah blah? It's because they're a different country. You gotta understand that they are a different freaking country, and they're gonna do the things that they want to do, and that what they want their own people to do. It's not just
oh, they're just, trouncing on gay people and stuff like that. It's like, no, they have a set system over there. They're just like, we're not going to play your stuff. And it's the same way that we're thinking of that we're influencing Japanese culture. Heck no, we're not freaking influencing Japanese culture. Japanese culture includes really everybody, and everybody has their little niche, and they also have their own, set of manga and set of anime and stuff like that. And they're just like, hey, you like this? Go. I'm not going to force you to go look at this. Right. Just go live your life. I have my stuff here. You go do your stuff. In Japan doesn't. They make a bunch of weird stuff. And
they make some crazy food too.
Yeah, make some crazy food and they make some really good stuff and make really good art too. But it's, again, they're very much focused on, okay, you like this stuff. Well, this writer or something like that likes it. Here you go. Have fun. Oh, you like traditional stuff? Here. There you go. Have fun. But the traditional person is not going to go to the weird person like, here, I made somewhat weird stuff, but here's my traditionalism into it too. It's not like that. It's like, okay, here. And it's up to the consumer to make the choice of what they want to do. And that's the issue. That's what I have the biggest hard time with what our Western culture is doing, is because they're just like, okay, here's this, here's this, but it has a bunch of stuff that you don't really care for, but here you go anyway. And that's what it's becoming like. And it's just, the only way that we're going to be able to counteract that is just to stop watching. That's why that's why we have just all streaming services, and they have all the classic stuff, and that's what I watch. And Tacoma FD.
Yeah. I mean, to summarize it, it's pretty much one of those instances where, they teach you in retail, the customer. I don't like saying the customer is always right, but it's more so of you gotta give the customer what they want. Yeah. And, they might think they want this, but when you see that what they really want is this. But I think I just go back to it. Like, you want a good story. Yeah. And, if your pitch is just some type of, is just one thing, but it's not within the context of the story, like, nobody's gonna be interested in it. And you can't, and if people backlash on it, like, the problem is, an issue now is that we don't do any deep reflection when we get criticism our way. Mm-hmm. We say we do, but I don't think we do. No. In terms of this type of stuff, where it's like, why was this not good? Yeah. What was it within the thread line or within the plot that didn't make it good? Mm-hmm. And with a good example would be the last show that I mentioned on our first episode back, Midnight Mass. Yeah. The whole plot thread, it kind of read as like a horror film. Mm-hmm. And the first part of it had some good moments. It had some good ideas, but then it became very monologue-y. It became very existential. Not wrong to ask those questions and to do all that. Mm-hmm. But when then the thing becomes, this group over here is really stupid, but it's these characters over here who are, not of this group, this certain religious group. They're the good ones because they sacrificed themselves and did the good. But all these people over here are a bunch of rubes and dumb. Like, it just felt very much like somebody who wanted to just crap on one group. And look, I get it. There's some you can write a bad a bad guy Christian character. Totally fine. You can do that. But don't make it like a summation. It goes both ways. Like, I don't think you should write you shouldn't write a Christian character and then make that your entire characterization of that group.
Yeah.
Same thing you shouldn't do with an atheist. Like, that's kind of one of my biggest gripes about Christian movies and non-Christian movies when they get into the religious themes is that they make over characterization. It's like over the top characters. The Christians are stupid if it's a secular film. If it's a Christian film, the atheist is just this like fomenting at the mouth type person, and it's just not that, and like that's not real life. And
No,
with these
not.
comic book movies, getting back to it, it's if you're gonna tell these stories and you're gonna try and it's only to check off certain boxes for the few people on Twitter and not for the fans, because the reason why fans are lashing out at it is because they feel like they've invested time and energy to go watch these things, to read these things, and to do all this. That's why there was such a big backlash on Star Wars.
Yeah.
Because everybody had invested time and energy in these characters, and the stories that were given were not respectful to the characters, and so
Exactly, and that's what, and even the Lucas's ex-wife that was actually one of the wasn't she one of the editors on the original 3 Star Wars? I think
she was like a designer, something. She was on it.
Yeah, I think she was the editor, and she hates what they did with the last 3 movies. Like, she's just like, they don't have the essence of Star Wars. They don't have anything. It was very much the Star Wars. Well, we are talking about comic books because they made Star Wars comic books, but with Star Wars, the last 3, like, it almost seemed like it was more of just like a fan service, or not even just fan service, but it's like with South Park. Do you remember? Get the member berries and stuff like that. You remember Han Solo?
Well, the first one, I would say the first one played like that.
Yeah.
But even then, you kind of saw the ripplings effects of what the second one, The Last Jedi, was going to be. Because I remember walking out of The Last Jedi feeling the same way I felt like with The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
Because I remember looking at my wife and said, like, so what'd you think of The Last Jedi? And she's like, it was good. And she's like, what did you think of it? I'm like, visually it looked good, but I felt the storyline was bad.
Yeah, because they were stuck on that ship forever, and then it should have ended like a couple scenes before, like not a couple, like an hour, probably like a half an hour earlier. It could have ended, but then in Rise of Skywalker, then they were retconning like a lot of the stuff that happened in Last Jedi, because there was so much garbage that they did, and you could tell, like, that was the thing. I walked out with a friend of mine. We walked out of the theater. It was him and my dad, and I asked him, I was like, "What'd you think of the movie?" And he's like, "Looks like they were retconning a lot of stuff from The Last Jedi." And so that's another good example of, because I forget who it was that came out. I think it was the director of the first and third one. They came out and said they had no plan. Yeah.
for all three movies. It was just kind of like, all right, we're supposed to hit this point, this point, this point. And
that's what it felt like. And like the whole thing of a Star Wars film every single year, that's a tall order, and you're trying to figure out what it's supposed to go to, and then on top of that have the supplemental films, and then now you have the supplemental shows like The Mandalorian, and now they just announced was the Boba Fett.
Yeah, the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, which I just don't know it. Like overall in the comic book realm and stuff like that, I think we're done with we're declining from the renaissance of, especially like with the movies. Well, besides DC had some rough patches, but like with Marvel, I'm pretty sure that we're done. We're kind of on the descent from the Renaissance, the Golden Age. Now we just need to figure out what the heck the Silver Age is going to be. And
I think we probably got like maybe another good, probably decade worth of comic book stuff. Just because it's like Western movies. Western movies had like a 20-30 year run.
Yeah.
And then we moved on to other things.
Yeah, because even when like Endgame was coming out and stuff like that, they were very much, there was tons of just different superhero movies and shows, and I was just like, yeah, I'm kind of done. I just wanted to watch, and I just wanted to watch the last two, just because I wanted to see what just happens, because again, I invested so much time and effort into it. I'm like, just see how it ends. And now I've woken up and just decided, hey, I'm not going to continue to support this. So,
all right.
And it's just serious. Overall, I don't see. I mean, DC movie wise should have good projections, like again with the Batman, and then you have the Flash. Those are I think it's time for DC to actually like step up, get their act together, and not everything has to be in three colors: dark, darker, and darkest. And the mood doesn't have to be that way either. Like, it can be campy, it can be fun. They're starting to try to get the momentum going, and I mean, they have good storylines with that, like even with the Flash movie, because there's the inkling of it being like the Flashpoint, where he's going to save his mom, kind of a thing, and that opens up a multiverse. And there's a lot of stuff that they have, because I mean, traditionally, even in the past and everything, DC has always been more story driven than Marvel. Now, granted, Marvel had some great, in the comic book realm, some great different, story arcs and everything like that. Really good stuff, but I would say DC is definitely more of the story driven, and Marvel is more of the action sequences. And DC, that's what they're good at. They're good at telling stories. Now, they haven't transferred that over to the movie realm. Animated movies, yes, at the beginning, but the last, probably last 5 years, not so great. But they came out with some really good stuff, animated wise. Now they just have to transform that power to the movie side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should maybe go through. We should do a pod where we go through the DC animated movies. Mm-hmm. Not the one, because they had the DC animated movies, but after the Flashpoint animated movie that they did, like all of those were supposed to be like in universe. Mm-hmm. Some of those were hit or miss. Like I was surprised at how much
I mean, they changed quite a bit of the stories. Like, the perfect example is The Killing Joke. They changed that story. Well, the first.
Well, I'm not talking about that one. That one wasn't in like their universe that they did after Flashpoint.
True.
That was an offshoot one. I'm talking about the ones that they did in story. Like those ones, I was actually surprised at how much of those I actually watched. I actually thought I watched less. Like I think the only few that I didn't watch was like the Judas Contract.
Okay.
There's like 2 others that I didn't watch, but like out of all of them, like I was very surprised of how many I watched.
Yeah.
But the moral of it, but we should do that. We should do one where we kind of go through those movies.
Yeah.
And kind of rank them.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean other things too, so. But overall, I think the general consensus is, you know,
tell good stories.
Tells good stories, and to consumers, if you don't agree with something, don't watch it. Don't support it. Don't tell people to go see something. Be Dave Chappelle. In Dave we trust.
That man likes to go off to Ohio and do his thing.
Yep. Yep. So, but I think we're drawing to a close here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Again, for So Do You Like Stuff, I'm Jeff Miller.
And I'm Josh Martinez.
Y'all have a good night, or a good day, or a good morrow, or whatever you're doing.